Hey, so thank you very much. And um, my name is Elizabeth Mackey. I'm CEO over at East Sussex and Brighton and Hove Partners in Care. And I also come with a very grand title of head judge of our independent judging panel for the Care Awards. And I'm going to hand over in a minute, just let our judges introduce themselves. And we've just got somebody joining us now. So the independent judging panel, I'll explain as we go through the session how that works as well. Um, but largely today, what we're going to be covering is who can submit a nomination, what makes a nomination stand out, and some practical tips for success. And just to finish up is how the judging process works. So the part that you don't see that goes on behind the scenes before we announce our finalists. So I'll just walk you through that. But for the time being, I'm going to just hand over quickly to our judges to introduce themselves. And yeah, so Reese, you're first in my screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Reese White. I am a independent dementia behaviour consultant, having just recently set up my new business, Refocus with Reese, coming as a result of 20 years in social care, working with people with dementia. I actually also won a care award in the first year, so I'm
You
here
did.
to support champion the movement.
Thank you very much, Reese. And Nada, also one of our returning judges.
Well, hello, my name is Nada Wakeford. I'm sure you know me from Sussex Digital InReach team, talking to you about DSPT. Same as Reese, I come from social care. I was a manager in social care for 25 years, and many years ago, I won an award in West Sussex for the Manager of the Year. But I'm now working, as you know, in data protection and cybersecurity.
Thank you, Nada. And thank you again for supporting us. And Phil, finally.
My name is Phil Hale. I'm an independent care consultant. I started off working in health and social care as a social worker and then progressed to regulation in the East Sussex Registration and Inspection Unit, even before NCSC existed. So I go back away. I managed to escape from the Care Quality Commission in 16 years. Let's have a look, 16 years, 1 month and 7 days ago. Since when I've been independent care consultant, and I work with a whole variety of people. I've never won an award apart from I once won the Player of the Year award for the football team I played for, but that was about 40 years ago.
Well done, Phil. Thank you very much. And just all this information will be available on our website, but our other judges for Brighton and Hove is Councillor Alexander, who's the Cabinet Member for Public Health and Social Care. Rachel Geacock is one of our guest judges over in Brighton and Hove for the Dementia Care Award, and Reese is also a guest judge in East Sussex for the Dementia Care Award. So hopefully you've all had a chance to see the new categories and look over the categories for this year. They are the same across East Sussex and Brighton and Hove, just to keep it simple. So first tip there is when you are thinking of nominating, please make sure you use the right form. There's two forms up there, one for Brighton and Hove, and one for East Sussex. So I'm just letting. So getting on to kind of like nominations. First thing is who can nominate. We often, it's a frequently asked question, and I'm sorry, I'm still letting people in. Uh, the easiest answer to that is anyone can nominate. You can even self-nominate. So if you receive care, so anybody who you support, they can nominate a relative of yours who receives care. If you give care, obviously from a care service, there's a whole raft of categories that support not only frontline care. I mean, those of you who was around at our event last year, we had a chef was one of our winners last year. So we try and encompass all roles, not just the frontline caring roles. So have a look at them. and how they kind of fit and match with your team. So if you're a care manager or an owner, again, tell us about, your amazing staff members who've made you proud this year, what they've done and the difference that they've made. And if you've got visiting professionals like GPs, district nurses, social workers, we can send you a QR code to print out and put up in your service, and where people can just go straight to the nomination page. So please encourage all your visitors, families, to make those nominations. Also, I did a radio interview last year around who can nominate, but just ordinary members of the public. We do celebrate with the care community at the Care Awards, but it is open to members of the public just to come along and enjoy the evening. So hopefully that's covered who can nominate, but it's like you can even self-nominate. And we do get self-nominations as well. And it's all good. So what are we then as judges, what are we really looking for, and what makes a nomination stand out? And the first thing that springs to mind is a clear, compelling story, not just facts. And Reese, Nada, Phil, please feel free to kind of jump in and add anything to what I'm not including. Last year, this really stood out for me, having read every single nomination, and I kind of summarized it that every nomination told a story of care at its very best. So you'll see the nomination criteria, but it's also about telling that clear, compelling story. Evidence of real impact on people's lives, and passion, authenticity, and pride in care. I mean, we have lots of technology available to us now, but we kind of encourage you to be authentic and put over that passion and emotion. And that's one of the reasons I still do what I do, because every year it surpasses me, the quality and the passion and the emotion in the nominations that we read, and it still gives me goosebumps. So, and would encourage you to think about that as well, and absolutely align it with the award criteria, and a nomination that is memorable and easy to follow, that is going to stick in our minds, because we do read hundreds of nominations. And I've just put a little tip here, is ask yourself some kind of, why should this entry win? If you start with that question and then build it up, how you meet the criteria, you're on to a good start. So say, tell a strong story, clear introduction, the who, what, why, use real examples and experiences where you can, show challenges and how they've been overcome, and highlight outcomes, not just actions, and really keep it focused and relevant. Again, another tip here is good nominations feel human, not corporate, and try and avoid AI. It's easy to put it through Chat GPT, but we want to understand the emotion and the passion behind why you think this person deserves to be on that stage. And as I say, evidence does matter. If you can include that measurable impact where possible, please do. Improvements in well-being, outcomes and quality. And where it actually requests, you can use testimonials, so people receiving care, families, staff. Demonstrate consistency as well, not just one-off successes. We read some fantastic nominations, but it leaves us wanting more, as not just a one-off example. We want to kind of hear if what else has gone on in this nominee's kind of care life. and link everything back to the category criteria, because that is how we score. We have a scoring matrix, and each bullet point on the criteria that you see on the website comes with a weighting point. So it's 5 points times the amount of bullet points we have, and that will give you a total score available, and that's how we score it. So do remember to make sure you've got everything in the category criteria covered. And I think the tip there is, show, don't just tell. So try and show as much as you can how they meet that criteria. Some common mistakes to avoid: being too vague or generic. We do have, which we've introduced this year, a minimum of 200 words, because we do get quite a lot of small 1-2 paragraphs that we actually do not put forward because they don't meet the eligibility criteria. You've got a maximum of 500 words, and I'd kind of encourage you to use that. But if you can get something impactful in 200 words, that will get scored, it will get reviewed. But please, nothing under 200 words, because we don't enter into any communications with nominations. In the beginning, where we had a couple of just short one-liners, we did write to people and say, this is insufficient. Please, if you want to submit an information, please follow the guidance on the website. So again, use your word allocation. Avoid also copying job descriptions, and kind of focus on their achievements. And obvious, don't ignore the judging criteria. And try not to overload with jargon or long paragraphs. Another interesting one is submitting without proofreading. We do read some interesting variations on the criteria, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So again, just give it that proofread, or even, get somebody else just to give it a second glance for you. And as I've said, not maximize the word count. We will be much stricter this year, simply because of the volume of nominations we receive. That 200 words, less than 200 words, will not be accepted. And I sum this up as clarity beats complexity every time. So be succinct, be clear, and don't make it too complicated. So for a winning nomination, we'd say answer every question fully and directly. So have a look at all the bullet points, use clear, simple language, be specific and concise. And this is my top plea. I don't know if the others have one, but let the passion and the pride come through, because this is all about being proud of our workforce and showcasing what we're doing. So let that passion and pride really shine through. And that's what energizes me as a judge. I like that those goosebump moments. And get a second pair of eyes before submitting. And it is about, trying to make the judges feel something, and what stands out with them, because that's what we're going to remember. I'm going to ask Reese, Nada, Phil, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, you won't be surprised, Liz, that I'll be the first to speak up, but I've got a few extra points I would say to consider. And I think it's fair to say that actually, when it comes to making nominations, we can get a bit tied up with the direct impact on the person that we're looking after. And I would say maybe think a bit more broadly than that, and think about the impact that the person or the team have had on the systems and processes within the service, and how maybe it's impacted on team performance and team
Mm.
efforts, and the contributions to the perception of social care or care homes or people with dementia or whatever the particular topic is. How has that member of the team or service made a contribution to the perception of that by others? And I would say that maybe sort of think about what's changed and how it's making things better, rather than just thinking about, oh, this care is really good because they made a positive difference to that resident and that resident is visibly happier. Because that will happen a lot of the cases and will happen in lots of services. So we need to try and think about the impact of that more broadly. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Nada, any thoughts from you?
There's several. So, many applications that I have read, they have all the right words, for all the buzzy words are there, but just real examples of what that means in real practice. So, bear in mind, we have never seen this person before. We have no idea who this person is, and all I know is what you've written. So if you are saying, I had many nominations saying this person has made considerable impact on our service and the residents and relatives. She is well liked by the staff and she promotes people's privacy, dignity, respect, rights and choices. What does that mean? What does this person do?
Yeah.
It means nothing. Another thing which is really simple and has happened before, answer all the questions. So just recently I was judging in West Sussex, and I know this is really sounds silly, but I had an outstanding candidate and they didn't answer one question, which means there's less points for this person. It was very disappointing. I remember one nomination, and the person really spoke with a lot of passion, but it just wasn't enough. So she said, she is the best manager I have worked for. I have worked in social care for 35 years and she's the best. And that was it. How? I do. And I was quite disappointed because this person was really passionate about her manager and felt she was the best, but didn't really tell us how. Specific examples are great. So again, I remember last year's nomination for the gardener. I was really impressed. This gardener, and I remember it a year later. I read hundreds of nominations. This gardener started a gardening school, not only for the residents in the care home, but also the staff and the relatives, and then involved the community. And I remember this now. Or just recently, I read a nomination about a young man, a young carer, only 18, who came in on his day off, completely not paid, to do a night duty, to hold the hand of somebody who was in the end of their life. These stories are really impactful. But I think, Elizabeth, you covered everything really. I'm just repeating what you said already.
No, that's great. And it goes back to that evidence kind of matters really. Tell that story as to why and how they are they are the person you want to nominate. Phil.
I think, I was going to say pretty much the same as Nada, in that often you have nominations with lots of what I call fluffy words, nice words about talking about this person shows respect to people, is person-centered. And I tend to see through I'm not interested in fluffy words. I'm wondering what's the impact of those fluffy words on people, or on the service, on the wider sphere in which we work. So always put those words in if you want to, but actually relate them to examples. So you can say this person is person because they've done X, Y, and Z, and because of they've done that, the impact on the people here in this service or the wider community is this. So that's what I'm looking for in an application form, a nomination form. Not the fluffy words, but the actual impact on people's lives. Because that's basically why we're involved in health and social care, is to make a difference to people's lives.
Yeah, great. Thank you all. Brilliant. And again, in the title of the award, if it's got the word excellence in there, there's a big clue of the kind of the quality of what we're trying to get to to the bottom of that kind of excellence, what makes them stand out as providing that excellent service. So that's brilliant. Thank you both, all three of you. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to run through with you how the judging process works, because again, this, people don't see or know this process. So we have a Care Awards administrator who, for the duration of the nomination period, it is their role to receive all the nominations. They will check and make sure that each nomination meets the criteria and eligibility for shortlisting. So that's all the things we said earlier about the word count. They're in the right East Sussex, Brighton and Hove. We will just do a quick postcode check just to make sure, and we will contact you if we think you've submitted to the wrong one, because it can be quite complicated. So we'll just do all of those criteria, those checks. Then each nomination is allocated a unique reference number. And what happens then is all the personal identifiable information gets redacted from that supported statement. I mean, we do recognise that sometimes what you do, we don't want to change what you write, going back to that authenticity, but we do want to ensure that we've got a fair and equitable process. And as you've heard, Phil nod, we've all been around in the social care field for a long time, that there are services that we may have an inkling who that is, but we try and make it as anonymous as possible. And it is only what the judges receive is that supporting statement, and where we've asked for any other testimonials. They don't receive any other information. It is clearly, it's just a number at that stage. And that's all they receive is that supporting statement. So it is like Reese and Nada and Phil have said, is getting everything that you need to convey in that supporting statement. So after the closing date, our Care Awards administrator will send all the nominations to the judges for shortlisted. So as the panel in East Sussex, Phil, Nada and I will receive everyone, and Reese will just receive in East Sussex, the dementia care nominations, but in Brighton and Hove, he'll receive all of them as well. So the stage one of our judging process is when we receive them, we will all review them independently. We score them independently. Obviously, there's scoring grids. It's a bit like an interview process. Those of you who've done interviews, we score them all. And as I said earlier, each bullet point on the criteria has a maximum of 5 points allocated. And then we will come together in stage two. We meet up for the day, and we just compare our scores and deliberate and agree their finalists. Everything up to this stage is still anonymous. We don't know who that relates to, whether it's male, female, what service. We don't know any of that information. It is just what's in that statement. As head judge, I do have that casting vote, but in the event of a tie, like where there is no clear winner, we do put in our guidance and nomination notes on the website that we can waiver that one winner, 3 highly commended, if we can't come to an agreement between us. So we've had joint winners before. We've had 4 highly commended when there is nothing to delineate between the nominations. We do have that flexibility. So those of you who've been to an award ceremony, sometimes you will just get 2 winners and no highly commended, or you'll get 1 winner and 4 or just 2 highly commended. But we aim to go for 1 winner, outright winner, and 3 highly commended. And it's only when we have agreed the finalists. So at that point, our finalist is still a number, and then it is myself and the admin, Care Award admin, that see the nominating details after the judging has concluded, because obviously we then have to go through informing our finalist and hopefully they accept. And we also have to get the name on the trophy as well, because there is a stunning glass trophy that goes to our winner, and there's certificates for highly commended. And last year we had some bottles of fizz donated for the winner as well. So the winner is announced on the night. So they still don't know when a finalist receives that notification. They just say they've been shortlisted for an award. It doesn't say, it does say the category, but the winner's announced on the night. So that is a very quick run through of our Care Awards nomination processes. Any kind of questions or comments or thoughts? Is it clear, Sharon? And then Lizzie.
Oh, come on. That's it. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself, which is very unusual. If you say the nominations are anonymous, they're given a reference number, that's fabulous. Do we have to be careful in how we write? For instance, naming the care home or the person. Do you want us to leave all of that out?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're fortunate that we do have a lot of services across East Sussex and Brighton and Hove, but if there's only one in St John's Road, then it's Bexhill, then it's pretty obvious which one it is. So yeah,
Okay.
just be mindful of, you know, how much you describe the service as far as possible.
Right. Okay. Yep, we'll do. Yeah, I'll yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Super. Thank you. Lizzie.
Hi, Liz. You said about the supporting statement. Obviously, there's the criteria in the paragraphs. Sometimes there's the option to attach a supporting statement. How long should that be? And do you like to receive photos in that too?
Not photos, Lizzie, because the online system won't cope with photos. If your nominee is shortlisted, then we can include photos in you know, for their stage presence. But the online system won't take photographs. And between the same, if you're doing a supporting statement, it's the same criteria between 200 and 500.
Okay, so no photos in a Word document either as part of a supporting statement to show them in action.
I will double check Google Forms and come back to you on that one. But as far as I'm aware, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Reece.
If I could just respond to that comment, Lizzie, that makes it even more pertinent for you to describe exactly what's happening in the picture that you can't add. So more detail, more specificity, and that will highlight and really paint the picture.
Yeah. Good. And anything else? Any other query? Does that sound? Does that make sense? Everything, and has that kind of been useful to steer you in the right direction? So, I mean, just to recap, make sure you click the right button, East Sussex or Brighton and Hove. That's going to be a very anxious moment for me. I mean, so far, it's all working. We've got no queries, so well done if you are submitting nominations. They're getting through to the right department. Read the criteria, and as Reece says, be as explicit as you can within that, but mindful of those anonymity and confidentiality clauses. And I hope you enjoy the categories this year. We've really broadened it out. And as I say, don't forget all your other workers that make the service complete, the ones behind the scene. So Nada, the gardener, I remember the gardener as well, Nada. So they obviously had that stood out, and as Nada said, she still remembers it nearly 12 months on. So remember all your team there as well, and encourage. We had last year, we had a care worker. The Care Worker of the Year is the most nominated category and has been for the last 2 years. And it attracts an awful lot of nominations, which I think kind of highlights how valued people put on that role. But we had two young people last year, and they were colleagues, and one nominated the other. So it was a peer-to-peer. And it was only like 2 or 3 days before our actual Care Awards evening did the manager know that they'd even been put a nomination in, let alone been shortlisted, and was there on the night. And they were trying to rally round. We were trying to get them tickets so they could be there on the night and support their staff. And it was so genuine that those two colleagues nominated each other. One of them nominated them, and it was so sweet. And we did manage to get their manager in so they could enjoy the evening with them as well. But if you do want the QR code, and encourage your relatives as well. I don't know whether we've got anybody on the call from directly provided services as well. We have so far, with the 2 years in East Sussex, we've had no nominations from local authority services. So it would be good to receive some nominations. I know there isn't many directly provided services left now, but it would be good to get some local authority services involved in this. So I think that's everything I wanted to add. And if there's no other questions, I'd say thank you for joining us. Hope it's been useful. We'll send the slides out, and you can just use them as an aid memoir. But do look at the website. All the guidance, all the terms and conditions is on the website. Closing date for Brighton and Hove is 30th of June. Closing date for East Sussex is 31st of August. And judging will take place it usually happens the first 2 weeks after nominations close, so that we can get, especially with Brighton and Hove, with holidays season, so that we can get all our finalists informed. There is one clause on the nomination form to check that obviously people can be there on the night, because we like to celebrate with our winners and finalists, and if we've got no winners and finalists there and deputies, it's not quite the same impact. So do check with anybody that you're nominating that they are available. And the dates on the website, so Brighton and Hove is the 17th of September, and it's at the Doubletree by Hilton Metropole Hotel down on the seafront. It's another lovely venue. East Sussex is the 19th of November, and we'll be returning to East Sussex National Hotel, where we've been for the past 2 years. I was going to say something else on the night. All your finalists that are shortlisted, their places are complimentary, so they each receive a complimentary place at the awards dinner. And once we've allocated all our finalists and their guests, then the ticket sales are open for generic sales. And that's the process. And then we just turn up on the night and have a fantastic evening. But also remember your staff that can't join on the night as well. As much as we'd like to have everybody there, by the nature of what we do, it's not possible. But it is a good night. and the bar. Again, each year we have to set the bar, just to mix it up, make it a little bit different. So there'll be a few surprises this year as well, both in Brighton and East Sussex. So thank you very much for your time and have a good rest of the day.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Really
Thank you.
helpful.
Thanks, Liz. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.